They say that the summer is the best time for fights. They say this. Now, I really don't know who they are, and I could just very well be making this up. But one thing that I'm not making up is that it is a pleasure, as always, to be sitting here talking boxing. This is the Bees of Boxing. My name is Chris Tidwell, otherwise known as Notorious TID. His name is Steve Swift, otherwise known as Swifty, the boxing god. We're just going to go with that. And he is living the rock star treatment. You can see he's damn near got a puka bead necklace on, or whatever the whole puka shells. I think he's a surfing machine this way. He showed me the view, and oh my goodness, the waves.
There are no waves. Let me show you here.
Would you look at this? Nice and calm, beachfront access. I mean, could you ask for anything more? I'm sure that the room service is fantastic.
It is.
And once again, I didn't get my invitation or ticket, so whatever.
The issue is that at this kind of exclusive hotel, they only allow certain types of behavior, which precluded the invitation to you, I'm afraid. The inviting of the Tidster was rather precluded by the outrageous garb you generally wear and the outrageous behavior you generally display.
These are all true statements, and I can understand why they would get that way. I'm sure that this is probably the result of something that has already happened there once before. I'm sure that there was a wild ruckus of a party with the mamas and the papas at one point, and it caused it all to get shut down. Who knows?
There's a picture of you on the wall, and you're in the newsletter.
Oh, well, as long as it's not the ones that you see in the post office holding the numbers underneath. Those ones I worry about. Now, let's talk some boxing, because that's what we're here to do. Let's touch base a little bit on what we just saw this past weekend, with some wonderful boxing put on display by one Mr. Richardson Hitchens against George Kambosos Jr. Am I the only one, Steve, that took it for this, that Richardson Hitchens had less than zero respect for anything George Kambosos Jr. was throwing at him in that fight?
Yes. I mean, the general feeling I had was, I'm a silky skills boxer, and you're something that's agricultural. You come at me with a shovel when I have a scalpel. That's like bringing a gun to a knife, no, a knife to a gunfight. That's it.
It's like it was more like bringing a spoon to a gunfight.
It was. Even a sharpened spoon wouldn't really have worked.
Like a grapefruit spoon.
A grapefruit spoon would be nice, or some kind of set of tongs. That might be quite good. Try and get the nose. But I thought that Hitchens was just extraordinarily good in and out. There was one moment, I think it was the fifth or the sixth, when he threw a punch and just stepped back to say, "You can't hit me. I don't even need to move my feet." It was just imperious.
My two favorite moments of the fight were, one, before he ended the fight, looking over at Senior and in George's corner and said, "Stop this fight. I'm going to hurt your boy." And then proceeded to do just that because they didn't stop the fight. My second favorite part of this entire fight was afterwards, because they're showing, obviously, Teofimo Lopez sitting there in the audience, right? Because that seems to be the win that George Kambosos Jr. hangs his hat on, even though he came back and fought him a second time and got beat, but he's still that one win. All right, that's all it took, apparently, whatever. And so they thought they were going to get Richardson Hitchens calling out Teofimo Lopez. They set it up. Teo's out there in the crowd. What do you think? That would be a fantastic fight. You and Teofimo Lopez, Teo this, Lopez that, blah, blah, blah. Teo gets up in the ring even, to be like, I'm going to be a little bit closer because he's going to call me out. And Hitchens looks right at the camera, grabs the microphone and says, "Devin Haney, you piece of shit." I was like, that couldn't be more cold. And then proceeded to take a picture with Tio in the ring. It was like, no, this is Richardson Hitchens' town now. New York is his.
It is, and he kind of. I mean, I suppose what certain people know of Richardson Hitchens, but in a way, Cambosis has a bigger name, a
100%.
bigger name recognition, and it's about time. I think that Hitchens thought, look, I'm the man now, and I'm not only going to show you how good a boxer I am, I'm also going to show you that I've got game outside of the ring, and he's the coming man. He is another Ben Whittaker, folks, or
Yes.
rather, Ben Whittaker's another Richardson Hitchens. That's
Yeah.
the way it should be.
And I mean, these are the new guys that are coming up, because there's a third guy, and let's talk about the fights coming up this summer. And which ones are you most excited about? Because if I give you some of these fights of what is supposed to be the best fight of the summer, we're going to try to break them down and see which one you think out of this list is the best one and which one I might think. We start off this week, though, with another guy much on that same trajectory as a Hitchens, and that's Brian Norman Jr. fighting this coming up week, going to Tokyo to take on Jin Sasaki. And that is going to be one hell of a fight. I think Brian Norman Jr. is another one of these special dudes.
Yeah, so special. He can go to someone else's backyard and is expected to win. I expect him to win as well, and I expect him to win well. And when you say, I'll just go where you are, I have no issue with that. I've got no issue with that. It just shows I don't really care.
And that's the thing too, right? Because if you look at it, Jin Sasaki has not fought outside of Japan. Everything that he's done, he's got a hell of a career outside of there. And it kind of made me think about the way that some countries protect their commodities, their boxers. Japan for sure does it, right? Australia is another one that I feel that kind of does this too, right? We've seen this with Opataya and his rise, no doubt about it, right? And we've also seen Liam Paro, the guy who lost to Richardson Hitchens last. He just had another fight, or has got another fight coming up, I should say, this summer, back in Australia to try to give him that rub. It's the Anthony Joshua syndrome, if you ask me, right?
I agree. It is. And it's just another way of protecting your boxers. So promoters and managers should do that. You got to be smart with that. And really, J.R. Pataya fighting Squeal or whatever he was called, breaking his jaw so badly, it was a complete mismatch. And at some point, and even before the match, people were saying, can you not get someone else that we know? Maybe get him to step on a plane. Well, there are these things that fly.
Maybe at least get a guy in the top 10. At least get a guy in the top 10. Squaro was like number 14 or something like that, on the IBF. Like,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to say a couple of fights here. Anthony Herndon, Deontay Wilder. Yep, that fight is happening this year. Jake Paul, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Yep, that's absolutely happening this year as well. Jean Pascal is fighting this summer. Okay, coming up, and Jack Catterall is taking on Harlem Eubank in another Brit Eubank fight, trying to clearly ride the wave if there were one.
Well, yes. What's Jack Catterall doing though? Dipping back to Harlem Eubank, because he should be stepping out. Not
absolutely.
This has all, as you just said, you intimated, it has all of the trademarks of money. Who else can I can't go for Chris Eubank Jr. It's out of my league. So consequently, it should be Harlem Eubank. Well, nobody cares about that gentleman particularly. And not many people know. And you should be protecting your career. It has another trademark here. That's the wrong word, but anyway, it has all of the kind of the feeling of an exhibition fight of, Tyson Fury saying, I'll fight Ngannou, then I'll come back and do my usual stuff. It's a step out of my usual, or Jack Catterall's usual trajectory to make some cash. Why? Well, I know why, but I'd rather he didn't.
Yeah, no. Also, in July, a fight that I know that you're very excited about. We're going to get back to it in a second because it's part of the list, right? And that is one Mr. Edgar Berlanga against Hamza Shiraz. That should be a doozy in the middleweight division. And more so, the undercard of this, right? With Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda, that is a hell of a fight to see what happens if Shakur can actually. This is going to be one of those cards where we find out a lot, I think, about the fighters, right? Because each one of these guys has been given this kind of persona, and this is the culmination. This is the blow off. This is the cage match. This is, you know what I mean? This is where we find out where the rubber hits the road and who's actually got the balls to step up to that next level. Tell me what you think happens in this one.
Well, Shakur Stevenson has to be neither Tom nor Jerry in this fight. He's on the lips of all the people, or many people, who saw the Turki El Sheikh comment about that no more Tom and Jerry fights. Yeah, well, the first person mentioned is Shakur Stevenson. And when that happens, you're in a lot of trouble, mate. Your brand is falling. Your brand is tarnished, and he needs to come forward. But against William Zepeda, blimey. But you need to come forward and you need to push this. So you can't run. You can't do anything lackluster because your career's on the line with this big new promoter. And if he needed another example of the way his career's going at the moment, then he couldn't get a better one.
100%. Here's the question, though, because time will run out in this division, and everybody knows in that division who the money fight is. And that's going to be belt unifications. That's always the one. So it's not going to be Muratalla. That's who cares about that? That belt the IBF belt has to get eaten up before we see the fight that everybody's going to want to pay to see in that weight division. And that's Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, Gervonta Davis has a fight coming up this summer as well, right? With the rematch that he's going to end up having to get through first, because I don't know if he does as well as people might be thinking in the rematch. What do you think?
Well, as I've said many times, I hope his face is both clean and dry, because I don't want to see that kind of shenanigan again. Because I'll say it again, I believe it's cheating.
100%. Yes.
So I think that, what people have said is Roach can't fight better. Tank Davis can. I think he needs to actually care about the fight, and really, if he sees it as a fight to get through, to get bigger purses, then he's going to come unstuck. Because I think that Lamont Roach has got his number. I think that he was incredibly uncomfortable in that fight, and he knows. Roach knows what he's doing. He's a tough customer.
Yeah.
I don't think that Gervonta Davis really wants it.
No, I don't either. Now, also in the month of July, still, we see the rematch, of course, Daniel Dubois, Alexander Usyk for that heavyweight title, groin gate, as it were. Like, are we going to get to see a couple of more? I mean, do we get ice involved? Is there going to be too many trips south of the border? What's going to happen here? Is Usyk going to get his balls deported back to?
Have you been preparing those all day?
No, those all just came right off the top of my dome, Steve. Professional wrestling, 25 plus years. Sometimes you're just able to pull a promo once in a while right out your ass. You know how it goes. That's what we do.
Yes, I believe that there will be no further twig or berries action. I don't believe that was a difficult situation. And let's not forget that it wasn't really Usyk's fault. It was the referee. I keep saying this. It was a low blow, and it was the referee. He was the one who said, "Do you want more time?" Every time he got up, "Do you want more time?" You can have more time, Not Usyk's fault. Usyk, I suppose, could have said, "Off you go, mate. I actually want to get up." But if the ref's saying, "Take more time," you've got more time. You're going to, aren't you? And then let's not forget, people seem to forget, Usyk got him out of there. And you know what? He's not seen as a big power puncher, Usyk, and he got him out of there. So Dynamite Dubois is he's not Juggernaut Joe Joyce. I'm wondering about this chin. So I'm just wondering if Usyk, if he really peppers that chin, I think Dubois could have a bad night. But I still don't know. I'll always say that Usyk's going to come through because he's the preeminent cruiser heavyweight in the world and a great boxer. And consequently, if someone sets him a test, he will best that test and set one of his own. I know he can. Very few boxers can do that at the moment. But I still have something in the back of my mind that says, work the body, Daniel, and you might find something very good.
Well, I mean, listen, they're both older than they were. The difference being is that Dubois is now entering his man strength age, whereas Usyk is kind of getting out of that age. So yes, you're absolutely right. Those body shots, they feel a lot different the older you get. You can still take shots to the head because it's probably, pretty much empty at that point and you're just on autopilot. But the insides of the body change up as you get older. And anybody who's ever taken a shot to the liver knows how much of a problem that is, right? Steve, I want to say some names here and tell me what you think of this. If you were to see a fight that sees the rematch of Fundora and Tim Tszyu, right? You've got Isak Pitbull Cruz fighting on the card, and the whole thing is headlined by Mario Barrios and one Mr. Manny Pacquiao.
I don't know where to start because the thing's egregious anyway, because you've got the WBC ruling which says that you can be a qualified challenger if you've won a title at some point in your life. They parachuted him in at number 5 in the WBC. They then said, Mauricio Sullivan said, that's a mistake. And I thought they're going to recalculate it and put him down at 150 or something. They just took him off completely. So, there are so many fighters who must be thinking, what's the point of getting punched in the head and in the facial features if he can just come in at that age and challenge for a title, which is not going to... I mean, I worry about his health.
Sure. Let's say he wins. Let's say on the odd chance he beats Mario Barrios and becomes the WBC welterweight champion. Let's say that we live in a weird world where Barrios slips and ends up losing the title. Okay? Then what's next after that? Title unifications with, I don't know, which one of these guys do you want first? Do you want Brian Norman Jr. against Manny Pacquiao? Do you want Boots Ennis against Manny Pacquiao? Do you want, even Conor Benn against Manny Pacquiao? Rolly Romero, who has a belt, against Manny Pacquiao? I don't want to see any of these guys. I mean, and that's just those guys. You start getting into even, I don't know, are you telling me that we're going to set up a fight with Ryan Garcia and Manny Pacquiao? What are we doing here, guys? but that's the weight class that Pacquiao's in. Mario Barrios is, I see, the fastest approach to a belt on this, but I feel like Mario Barrios is about to Ige Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it is like, it's like beating somebody up in a pub car park because you can, and and kicking somebody's walker away, and then going back the following week after week after week and doing it again and again and again. At some point, someone's going to say, I don't think we should be doing this, lads. I really don't think. In fact, I'd be saying that, and I am saying that. The first time, shouldn't be doing that. Shouldn't be doing that for a bit of cash. And I know he probably allegedly needs the cash, but shouldn't be doing that. It's just it's just horrible. And sometimes boxing needs to be called out for that.
I mean, after what we saw, what Ugas did to him, he should not fight again. I mean, that's that, right? But the undercard is decent. Outside of that, you've got a couple of then we get into the summertime where it's boxing for boxers. Like, it's not a lot of big names for a couple of weeks there, but then we come back in August to finish this off. We've got some big fights. You've got the rematch, of course, with Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis. That's going to be a hell of a fight. We've already discussed that one. You've got the fight with Moses Itauma against Dillian. There's no way in hell he's white. And that's going to be a hell of a heavyweight fight as well. I think Dillian White is going to find out that this young kid hits really hard.
Yeah, I mean, what the thing is, how many more chances for Dillian White? How many more? So, he's a name on the scene,
Sure.
but there are loads of other good names on the scene.
Well,
of a similar age and
sure. So what they've done is they've set up the undercard with it. You've got a fight as well with Hrgovic and Adelaide, who are fighting in the co-main on that card. Obviously, the winner of that is going to be next in line, which I think either one of those fights is a great fight for the young kid as well. Because you can't hold him back. You can't hide him behind anything anymore. The heavyweight division needs something. And this is the kind of young kid that if he can learn to keep his chin down as he gets better in competition, he's going to be something special. There's no doubt about it.
Was you were saying, if I remember rightly, that he might fight 3 times.
Oh, yes.
But if he's dispatching people quickly, then it doesn't matter how many times he fights.
Right.
If he's getting people out in 2 rounds, then, he can fight 3, 4 times. All right, I fought 6 rounds, really. And he didn't lay a glove on me. So I'm okay, folks. And I'm actually, if it's going to be like that, difficult for heavyweights in case something detonates on his chin. But right now, he needs to do something to bring him away from some of the other, because we've got quite rude health in the heavyweight division. So something that brings him away from that might be, I'm always on your lips because I'm always fighting.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of the name that's always on everybody's lips, because we're closing it off at the end of the year, September, with the most overhyped fight, in my opinion, of not just the summer, ladies and gentlemen, the entire year. I'm talking about, yes, of course, Canelo and Crawford. And why do you think I think this is the most overhyped fight? Well, because I don't think that at any time Terence Crawford should be jumping up, not 1, not 2, essentially 3 weight classes just to chase a money fight with Canelo before he leaves. This is one of these like tugging on the shirt as he's leaving the party. Hey, mister, can I get a picture with you before you go? Because that's what this feels like to me. And that's not a knock on Terence Crawford's ability or anything like that. He's a fantastic fighter who should be sticking around and cleaning out the division. The problem is a lot of people forget Terence Crawford is not a spring chicken anymore himself. He's getting up there in age. So get that bag. I agree with that 100%. It's just a shame that we didn't get to see this fight happen earlier on. But I don't think the outcome is going to be any different. I think Canelo is going to be too big for him. And Canelo's already said there's only going to be, one rematch that he's really looking for, and that's Bivol. He wants to fight Bivol again. He wants that fight back before he's done. Sure. That is a cop-out. That's a cop-out for another loss personally, because nobody wants to fight David Benavidez. And that's the guy that Canelo should be fighting right now. Fight the guy. If you want to come to me and say you're the best in the world, you are a generational talent that people will not see ever again. You are the Muhammad Ali of this generation, it seems like, right? This is what you're saying. How are you doing this by picking on dudes that are littler than you constantly? How are you doing this by creating such a myth that they've got to come up to you rather than you? Be the gladiator. Take on the giant. Go after the three-headed dog. Beat up Medusa. Go after all of the things that you're not supposed to beat. Don't just be a guy who sits around waiting for the gold, waiting for the grapes to get peeled and fed to you. To me, that's a bitch move. I think Canelo should fight David Benavidez before he goes. Because if nothing else, you pass the torch, you piece of shit.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I view your florid prose very well. And I think that Brian Medusa, who's in the weight class, who's in Nebraska, don't know if you know Brian Medusa, he'll be looking for a fight with you're right. But then let me just play devil's advocate for a minute. We talked the other day about cheating, and I'm not saying that Canelo's cheating, but if you can get away with it and your branding works in that way, then you've controlled it, and you might be pissed off with that, and so am I. Mm-hmm. But he's controlled the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So he can pick and choose what he wants. And really, as you know, I love your phrase, he's weight bullying Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford said, "Okay."
Yeah.
And Terence Crawford shouldn't be saying that. But then Canelo has controlled it so well that he can let people come to him. People will bring the grapes. They will bring figs and other pig's trotters, that kind of delicacy. Yeah. I understand it's a delicacy and that sort of thing. And I think that he should fight Benavidez, but he won't, because he'll knock him the F out.
Yeah, and that's not how you want to go out.
Night. What was that?
And that's not how you want to go out with your career.
It's not.
No,
it's not.
Terence Crawford, as much as we all look at this like he's 3 weight classes out, he should get bullied around. He's not going to be as big and as strong as Canelo is. He's kind of outclassed a little bit. Yes, he's probably a flashier fighter, a flashier boxer, and he's going to have to do a lot of dancing, because Canelo's not going to go after his head. He's not going to go after his body. He's going to go after his arms, because this is what Canelo does. He'll punch you in the shoulders and punch you in the arms, and it causes you to drop those arms a little bit, and then he goes to work. And the only way to cover up from that happening is you can't bring your hands and your arms up to your face. So you bring your face down to your arms and your hands, and it opens you up for that uppercut every single time. It's a strategy that Canelo uses very, very well. That's what he's going to do against a much smaller guy in Terence Crawford. And I think that Terence Crawford, he's the gladiator in this. He's the one stepping up to the giant. He's the one going after Medusa, right?
Terence Crawford, you're quite right, cannot lose, even if he loses. If he loses, I came up in weight, folks. I tried to do it so you could love it, and I lost. If Canelo wins, he's slovenly and slow. And I'm bored with him. And he was a better fighter, but now he's a slow fighter. And you're right, he'll target the arms. If Terence Crawford finds some way to win, that will be extraordinary. If Canelo wins, it's a bad move for him anyway. And so he can't win. And even though we're saying, well, he's brought people to him, this is a bad move for him and his team.
Yeah. Because Terrence Crawford can still go back in a couple of weight classes. Let's say, even if he wanted to go back down to super welterweight, you know what I mean? That's fine at 154. I'm telling you straight up, I would love to see how Terrence Crawford could answer a puzzle in Fundora. How could the speed get past those arms? You know what I mean? Or the toughness of a Tim Tszyu, because Tim Tszyu's on a tear too. You know what I mean? So there's fights for Crawford to have at these other weight classes. You don't have to jump all the way up there. Hell, in between is your boy, Hamza Shiraz. Could you imagine a fight with him and Terrence Crawford? A fight with Terrence Crawford and Chris Eubank Jr. before he goes out? There's a lot more meat for Terrence Crawford. There's really no answers for Canelo Alvarez.
Yes, and the thing is, this theme that we've had tonight, well, I have, which is about people taking a break from their trajectory to find another fight which is going to make them money, almost an exhibition fight. This is the one for Crawford. You know, in a way, it's not serious. It's an exhibition. Let's see if you can come up in weight. Let's see if you can do that. Let's see if you can do it. Let's see if you can take me on. As you say, there's still a lot, because you could say, okay, I tried it, I lost, and I'm still coming back for something else. It's great for Terrence Crawford. For Canelo Alvarez, he's backed himself into a corner, and that's because his work is not good enough. And when you are clearly trying to control things and being cynical in that respect, your work's got to be better. And his work isn't good enough. So
No.
Crawford wins even if he loses.
Here's one thing, though. After what we saw a couple of weeks ago, could you imagine the young, almost similar style of a Canelo Alvarez in one Resendiz taking on a Canelo Alvarez? It's a younger version. The bullying, the elbows, the head, just the mauling that Resendiz did on Caleb Plant. We saw what Canelo Alvarez did with Caleb Plant. Caleb was holding his own, much better with Canelo Alvarez than he did with Resendiz. That's a fight, but Canelo doesn't want these fights. There's no money in these fights for him. He's going at this point in Canelo Alvarez's career, he's playing Russian roulette with his career, because eventually one of these young bullets is going to go off and he's not going to have that legacy that he thinks he's had.
Yeah, it does seem like he's grinding it out. He isn't in control of this.
No.
Because, as you say, you can be in control in negotiations, but when you get in the ring, somebody is going to beat him, and that he won't come back from that, because we're already sick and tired of the shenanigan. So while he keeps winning, some people are going to say, not me, but some people are going to say, well, that's well done, Canelo, you've won another one. But generally, someone's going to get, because it always happens, doesn't it? A bully is going to bully you. Mm-hmm. At some point, getting older, son, and you'll never know when it's too late.
100%. 100%. So those are our fights of the summer, Steve. Out of that list that we talked about, which one are you looking most forward to?
Right, we didn't talk about the one that I'm looking forward to most. You mentioned it. Do you know, hang your head in shame, Tidster. Hamza Shiraz, my boy.
Yeah.
Versus Edgar Berlanga.
That's the one, huh?
This is the one. This is the one where we find if Shiraz is worth putting your money on for the next few years, or whether he's shuffled back into the pack. This is the one where he has to stand tall, and he is taller than Berlanga, and he's got to work that jab, and he's got to set stuff up, and he's got rangier. He's rangier, so he's got to make sure that he can soak up Berlanga's attack early on. So that's one. I'll do another one before you come back in.
Okay.
I think Jake Paul's going to get knocked on his arse, and I cannot wait to see it.
I too am kind of looking forward to that fight, very much so. I hope that we get the Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who was the champion, not what we saw against Anderson Silva, to be honest with you. To the Hamza Shiraz fight, Edgar Berlanga fight, my fear is that Shiraz isn't doing enough to sell this fight, though. It seems like Berlanga is the only one trying to keep this on his back. It's my home city. It's mine, mine, mine. And Shiraz almost looks like a deer in the headlights. I don't know if he's just like, he's just like, I'm just minding my P's and Q's because this is what I do. I'm coming into your country, blah, 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 but we're going to settle this in the ring. I'm hoping that's the case and that it's not, this is the first real time in the big time. And he ends up underperforming.
You're quite right. This is the fear that I'm trying to dispel in myself, that he does freeze. And, that you just think, well, you've not got it, mate. You haven't got it. But that's the excitement of it's all or nothing now. This is the step up, and it's a bloody big step. So if you fall, it will take you a long time to get up there. And I personally won't be ballyhooing him anymore. But if he really flourishes, then that's something very special. These moments in boxing, for me, are just incredible. But you could be right. He doesn't look, he's not streetwise and rolling with it and all of that. And it's not really what Hamza Shiraz does very much. No. So it's not out of character completely, but I worry.
Yeah. And thankfully, if you are a fan of boxing, I will say this, that entire card from top to bottom for me is a better card than any of these other ones, because with the Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda fight on the undercard, the Sobriel Matias and Alberto Puello fight, bro. And you've also got David Morrell fighting on the undercard. Come on. This is going to be a fight that I don't understand why it is. It's having a hard time selling tickets. I don't understand this. People are going to be really upset afterwards if they lived in that area and they didn't go to this, in my opinion. The other fight that I will say that for me this summer, what I'm really looking forward to is another undercard fight, not a main event, another undercard fight that we talked about, and that is the Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora fight. That rematch I'm really looking forward to, because we have to have answers. We have to have answers because the last one did not end the way that a boxing fight should end. So those are the two fights for me this summer that I'm looking forward to.
Yes, and the two fight extraordinary because of the way it will look and the problems they will both set for each other. So that it's going to be great. And the thing is that it's good for the boxing of boxing.
100%.
But if Hamza Shiraz is not selling tickets, that kind of tells you.
Yeah. I mean, that is the business of boxing that they've got to figure out. He's already got the boxing of boxing. That's the business of boxing. The bullshit of boxing is the fact that Berlanga can't, sell out his own home city, but it is summertime. So there's going to be some BBQs of boxing. And if you're in the right country, Steve Swift, maybe on that beach, maybe some BBLs, but one can only hope. And I'm not talking about you watching the others. I'm talking about yours. I've heard rumors, my friend, that you went, that's why you're actually there, is that you're recovering from BBL surgery. Is this true?
Don't believe what you read on toilet walls. The number is wrong. The phone number, one of the digits is wrong. It's a 5, not a 4, folks. So do give me a ring, and we'll see what we can do.
Well, I'll have you know I read that in the Daily Mirror. Thank you very much. So it must be true.
The Daily Mirror. Oh dear. Well, thank you.
Amazing. Steve Swift, as always, a pleasure. For those of you, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. Go check out what Steve's talking about with at World Weary Guy 1 and all of his stuff. Myself, you can go check out my stuff, Notorious TID, as always, right here. The Law Live Audio Wrestling. We're talking there is a new episode of the Wayans brothers even up there in audio form, talking some MMA stuff recently, some NXT wrestling, some boxing, of course, all kinds of fun stuff happening. Steve, as always, it is a pleasure, my friend. Please go enjoy the rest of the evening. If you please try not to get stung by a jellyfish, but if you do, have somebody cute nearby to pee on your leg for you.
I always like to. It's something that, it's a subculture, but obviously, if you read the magazines I do, then you'll be able to get someone.
It's fantastic. Did you ever read Bizarre magazine?
Yes. And a multitude of others.
Yes. Well, listen, I was very upset when they stopped doing Bizarre magazine because I used to be able to get it in North America. It's a fantastic magazine. My number 2 favorite magazine, only followed by Hustler. Listen, Steve, until next time, I mean, what more can we say, right? Other than, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, tuck that chin.